Dear friends, this YouTube video details the founding and evolution of Zoological Survey of India, which is also called as ZSI, an institution established in 1916 to explore and preserve the nation's diverse animal life. This ZSI originated from the late 18th century efforts of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, originally called as Royal Society of Bengal. It has grown to the professional growth of the Zoological Survey of India through year 2026. Complementing this, a vibrant biogeographical summary of the 12 pioneering directors who navigated the challenges like World War II, major floods to advance scientific knowledge of India. Together, this video highlights the transition from a small research team with only 4 officers to a massive repository housing over 4 to 6 million animal specimens. The Zoological Survey of India showcase critical discoveries in marine biology, entomology, and freshwater ecology, while celebrating the scientists who acted as the true guardians of biodiversity of India by blending official administrative milestones with personal accounts of scientific heroism. This video illustrates the Zoological Survey of India's enduring legacy in global natural history. Please keep watching this till the end.
Not a server, not a library. Imagine a physical archives of life.
Okay.
A huge collection. We're talking over 1 million preserved specimens, creatures in jars, insects on boards, skeletons, the whole thing.
It's a staggering image.
Yeah.
And it's not just a warehouse of dead things, you know, it's a record, a physical database of what lived, where it lived, and when.
That's a heavy concept. And today, that's what we're diving into.
Yeah.
Zoological Survey of India, or the ZSI.
Right.
And I have to be honest, when I first saw the sources, the history of the ZSI, summaries of its directors, I thought, okay, this is going to be a little dry.
That's usually how institutional histories go, yeah.
Right. But this is like an adventure novel. I mean, there's stories about world wars, epic floods, and even a hunt for the missing link.
That's the context people miss. This was all built against the absolute chaos of the 20th century. A small group of scientists fighting to protect this data.
So that's our mission today, to figure out how a handful of people in 1916 built this guardian of Indian fauna. But I guess we can't really start in 1916, can we?
No, the roots go way deeper. You have to go back to the Asiatic Society of Bengal, founded in 1784.
1784. Wow. That's ancient in scientific terms.
It is. And back then, zoology was basically just a cabinet of curiosities. You know, an explorer finds a weird shell or a colorful bird and puts it on a shelf.
So a disorganized trophy room.
Exactly. But then things got more serious, especially with the Indian Museum Act of 1875. They created the Indian Museum in Calcutta. But I love its local name, the Jadugar.
Jadugar. Jadu is magic, right?
Yes. The House of Magic, or the House of Mysteries.
That is such a great name for a museum.
It is. It shows how the public saw it. But for the scientists, the goal was to replace the magic with taxonomy.
The science of naming and classifying things.
Right. Moving from, look at this weird bird, to this bird belongs to this family, this genus, and that's what led to the birth of the ZSI on July 1st, 1916.
Okay, 1916. Right in the middle of World War I. Not exactly a great time to launch a new department.
Not at all. And it wasn't some huge rollout. The ZSI started with just 4 scientific officers.
Wait, 4? 4 people for the entire Indian subcontinent, from the Himalayas to the Indian Ocean.
Just 4. Sounds impossible. But the first director, Dr T.N. Annandale, was, well, He was the kind of person who made it possible. They call him the foundation layer.
The foundation layer. I like that. So what made him different from the House of Magic guys?
Well, Annandale was not an armchair scientist. He didn't just sit in an office waiting for specimens to arrive. He insisted on field work.
He was out there getting his boots muddy.
Muddy, wet, you name it. He was obsessed with freshwater biology, especially Choka Lake. He knew you couldn't just study an animal in a jar. You had to understand its whole world.
So he sets this really rigorous tone. But then as we get into the 1920s, things seem to shift from just building a library to making headlines.
The 20s were a golden age of discovery for them, and it's really about two key figures. The first is Dr. Stanley Wells Kemp.
The mystery solver. That's what the notes call him. What mystery was he solving?
It sounds dramatic, but it was justified. On the Abor expedition, he discovered a creature called Typhlopariepetus williamsoni.
Whoa, okay, that is a mouthful. Why should we care about something with a name that long?
Because it was like finding a living dinosaur. It was considered an evolutionary missing link.
A missing link between what and what?
Between annelids, think soft, squishy earthworms, and arthropods, which are creatures with exoskeletons, like insects.
So a worm-insect hybrid, basically.
Sort of, yeah. It was the proof of the bridge between these two massive groups. It was huge news globally. It proved the ZSI was answering fundamental questions about life itself.
Incredible.
And while Kemp was looking at the ground, the next big name, Major R.B.S. Sewell, was looking at the ocean.
The Ocean King, or Sea Raja.
Exactly. He was a surgeon naturalist, a job title we really need to bring back.
A doctor and a marine biologist all in one.
Yep. He was on a ship called the RIMS Investigator.
Yeah, Investigator. You can't make this stuff up.
It was a floating lab. And he led the John Murray expedition in 1933, which basically changed our entire understanding of the Indian Ocean. He put Indian marine biology on the world map.
So the 20s are just this incredible boom time. But history always has other plans.
It does. The 1930s roll in, and with them, the Great Depression.
And this is where the story becomes about survival. Enter Dr. Banini Prasad.
Right. Dr. Prasad is the hero of perseverance. He took over right when the money just vanished. Funding was slashed, staff was cut.
So no more grand ocean voyages.
No, the science had to shrink. But Prasad kept the flame alive, focusing on important but cheaper research like mollusks and fisheries. He just refused to let it die. But that was nothing compared to what came next.
World War II.
And the threat to Calcutta. By 1942, with the Japanese advancing, the city was a potential bombing target, and the entire National Zoological Collection was sitting there, completely vulnerable.
I can't even imagine the logistics of moving it. These aren't files. They're delicate glass jars, fragile bones.
They had to move everything. And they chose to evacuate it all to a building called Kaiser Castle in Benares, or Varanasi.
Seemed safe. It was inland, far from the bombers, and it had deep, cool cellars.
It seemed perfect, except Kaiser Castle sat on the banks of the Varuna River. And in September 1943, the river flooded.
And this wasn't just a little water in the basement.
No. The water rose so fast it filled the underground cellars right up to the ceiling.
Oh my God.
And these were the spirit collections, the specimens preserved in alcohol.
The core of the collection.
It was a curator's worst nightmare. The labels, which were just paper glued to glass, started washing off. Bottles were floating around, crashing into each other.
That's heartbreaking. A specimen without a label is just a dead animal. It loses all its scientific value.
Precisely. But this is where the story gets heroic. A young assistant, Dr. B.N. Chopra, who later became director, led the rescue.
What did they do?
They waded in, chest deep in this murky, muddy, alcohol-laced floodwater, trying to salvage jars from the muck, trying to piece together what was what. It must have been a miserable, toxic job. But they saved it.
The irony is just staggering. You protect these things from bombs only to nearly lose them to a river.
It just shows how fragile it all is. If they hadn't saved it, we'd have a huge black hole in our understanding of India's biodiversity.
So they survive the war, survive the flood. India gains independence in 47. Who takes over then?
That would be Dr. Sundar Lalhora. He's known as the father of fishes.
And for good reason, right? The notes say he wrote over 438 papers.
The man was a machine, but he wasn't just describing fish. He was a big picture thinker. He came up with the Satpura hypothesis.
Okay, break this down for me.
So Horan noticed that fish in peninsular India looked almost identical to fish in, say, Malaysia.
But there's a huge landmass between those two places. Fish can't walk.
Exactly. So how did they get there? Hora theorized that millions of years ago, the Satpura mountain range acted as a kind of wet, humid bridge that let these species migrate south.
So he's using fish to reconstruct ancient geography.
That's the idea, a geological detective story told by fish, but Hora also sanctioned something that might seem a little odd today.
Oh, I know where this is going. The Yeti.
Chuckles, the Yeti, yes.
In 1954, the ZSI was part of an expedition to find the abominable snowman. Were they serious about this?
They were, and you have to respect it. This was the 50s. The Himalayas were still this huge biological unknown. There were all these local reports. It was their job to investigate. If there was a new species of great ape out there, they had to be the ones to find it.
That's a fair point. It's not chasing monsters. It's just good science. Let's go check.
Exactly. Now, after Hora, things got a bit more administrative under Dr. M.L. Runewal. He was more of the strict accountant type.
Probably what they needed after all that chaos.
For sure. He established 6 regional stations across the country in Pune, Shillong, Jairajpuri.
So they were finally getting scientists out of Calcutta and into the actual ecosystems.
Right. And the research focus shifted to agriculture. Runewal studied locusts and termites, which was a huge deal for food security in a newly independent India.
The ZSI just keeps adapting to what the country needs. And then in the 70s and 80s, it shifts again, right?
Yes, into the era of ecology and conservation. The main guy here is Dr. T.N. Ananthakrishnan. He pushed the ZSI from just taxonomy naming things to bioecology.
Okay, what's the difference?
Taxonomy is like the catalog in a library. It tells you the book's name. Bioecology is reading the book to understand the plot. Who eats who? How does this beetle fit into the whole web of life?
And during this time, we get some really wild discoveries, like Dr. K.K. Tiwari's Ocean in a Well. This one blew my mind.
Oh, the Nicholsidae. It's amazing. Dr. Tiwari found a whole new family of little crustaceans, isopods, living in deep wells in Bihar.
In Bihar, which is completely landlocked.
Exactly. These were ancient marine-like creatures that got trapped in the groundwater when the sea receded millions of years ago. It's like finding a living fossil in your drinking water.
That is just incredible. And we also have to talk about the Spider-Man of India.
Dr. B.K. Tegater. He literally wrote the book on Indian spiders and scorpions. But his real legacy is conservation. His data was absolutely crucial in saving Silent Valley.
That's the biodiversity hotspot in Kerala they wanted to build a dam in, right?
Yes, a huge hydroelectric project. Tegater and the ZSI provided the hard data that proved just how unique and irreplaceable that valley was. His work helped convince the government and Prime Minister Indira Gandhi herself to scrap the project.
So they went from being quiet collectors to being major players in national policy.
A huge shift.
Yeah.
And by the late 80s, under Dr M.S. Jairajpuri, they literally went to the ends of the earth. A ZSI scientist joined the Indian expedition to Antarctica in 1989.
From a small room in Calcutta to the South Pole. What a journey.
It is.
So friends, there you have it. What started in 1916 as a tiny office in Kolkata has exploded into a massive powerhouse guarding India's wildlife. Over the last 100 years, these scientific heroes, that is what, the Jairajpuri directors have truly done it all. We are talking about the legends who braved the massive floods to save rare specimens, trekked all the way to Antarctica and built a national treasure that is over 4 million animal records. From the very first step taken by Dr. Annandale to today's high-tech DNA barcoding used to stop wildlife smuggling in India, Jairajpuri remains the silent shield protecting everything from majestic lions to tiny deep-sea bugs. They aren't just researchers. They are the ultimate bodyguards of our natural heritage of India. The Zoological Survey of India has played a major critical role in the conservation of India's fauna. The Jairajpuri's research and assessments have generated valuable databases of the country's biodiversity. They have helped to develop conservation, policies, strategies, whatnot. It assists in promoting the sustainable management of wildlife resources in the country. The ZSI is an indispensable organization in India that will continue to make significant contributions to the conservation of Indian fauna. If these legendary directors, leaders inspired you, smash that like button and share this video to all your friends. Please comment below which director's story was your absolute favorite. I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.